private setting, and like they're just wheeling these people in there, just like, you know, like how much of that can, you know, like is healthy for them as well, like, you know, it's
well. I mean, like, I think I mean, that was when they were huge. I mean, it seemed to me that the whole clap your hands thing or whatever was him sort of poking fun out of like you're like cheering deliriously
there's
for us
that
too.
Goes on. I mean, in Hamburg, Tony, he's like, he is cursing at them in pidgin German, calling them Nazis, doing full-on Hitler salutes and stuff like that to this, calling them crowds, like, you know, we won the war, like, you know, blah,
and this
blah,
is like
blah,
at the
like
clubs that they're playing at the clubs.
So, you know, him doing that, I don't disagree then, John, like in that regard, because it, like, people just became delirious. And I think that as soon as he recognized, like, no one's here to listen to the music, it wasn't like I've never seen him in any early stuff where he's pulling that stuff, unless he's mock and show, you know, in Hamburg, you know, kind of thing, where he's just like, he's acting out, you know, but like when they're rock and rolling, they're just playing rock and roll, you know, like, and he's not bothering with that.
Well, in the anthology, Paul tries to. It's like, you know, it's just, you know, something silly we did, and John did it to break the ice. We'd have these tense, you know, and it was him just like bringing us all back down to earth, you know, kind of thing with these, you know, and it just, I mean, I get it, and you know, it's kind of like. It's sort of the same thing with the Rattle Your Jewelry thing. It's like, here's John like doing the inappropriate thing, and it sort of brings us back to being the goofy guys freezing to death in the back of a van. Like, we're not, you know, it's just, we're just having fun,
Paul,
you know, kind of thing.
So. Like, you know, it has been doing the same stage pattern for such a long time and stuff like that. Like, there's not a moment that I can think of in any of the footage I've ever seen where, like, on stage, someone like John is the butt of any sort of inside joke. But like, how often does that happen to Paul? Like, you know, they're on stage, Paul, like, you know, George does that one in Anthology where it's just like, you know, just now to sing, you know, yesterday, you know, opportunity knocks from Paul McCartney of, you know, like Upton Green, you know, like he is just giving him like it's funny as hell. Like, or Paul gets done singing a song and John would just be like, thank you, Paul. That was just like you. You know, and it's not.
Yeah. Isn't that just like him?
Like, wow. Like they give him a lot of crap about, like, you know.
It's funny. I just the anthology is on my brain because I just watched like the last DVD yesterday, and the one thing that killed me was they're all right. They have the interviews with the three of them, and it's like they're talking. Oh, and Neil Aspinall, and they're going like, yeah, Paul came to us with this idea for Magical Mystery Tour. Yeah, I think the movie was his idea. Yeah, blah blah. And they go to Ringo. It's like, yeah, I think that one was Paul's. You know. Blah blah blah, and then George is like, yeah, that one. Paul kind of put it together. Him and John kind of wrote some ideas, and that was kind of it. And yeah, there was a Paul, and then Paul goes, yeah, I'm not sure if it was mine. They're trying to blame me, aren't they? You know, it's you know, okay. I mean, I was coming up with concepts, you know, Sergeant Pepper, you know, but he's like, you know, I had all these concepts, you know, like Sergeant Pepper, like that one really worked. Don't give me crap because this one, you know. And he's like, I know they're trying to blame me. We all did it. You know?
There's another one where John is like, Paul does that Till There Was You like line where it's just like, and now we'd like to do one from our favorite American R&B artist, Sophie Tucker, you know, and like, and John literally, you hear him kind of go, ho, ho, ho. Like, he's like, but it's not nice. It's like, stop it already. Yeah, Bone.
You guys are really getting into Beatles geek territory here with this stuff.
sorry, we're losing in there. So, by the way, so he was raised by Auntie Mimi,
and then they played a high school gymnasium and all met together.
The rest is history. They had that gig at the orphanage in Penny Lane, and
so you,
right. The next thing you know,
but it is. That's the thing is, what's fun about this book is like all the references that are pretty much contained in Strawberry Fields, I Am the Walrus, and the song Penny Lane. Like they literally are from their childhood. Like all of those references to Lennon's favorite books, like his quotes that he would say. It's just funny to.
I Am the Walrus is like just a complete jumble. Like, what do you mean? There's no references to his childhood there. And I will also mention that Run for Your Life is a straight ripoff of Elvis Presley, and it has nothing to do. Like, John Lennon does not have any heart and soul like in that song. It is a throwaway song that quote somehow George still likes it, but it was a straight ripoff of Baby Let's Play House.
You lost me there. We were talking about I Am the Walrus.
I know, but like you mentioned earlier, something about John writing some sort of autobiographical, and you mentioned Run for Your Life, and I was just like, no. You okay? I'm going to put it back in context. Tony made a reference about some John Lennon lyrics about him not treating women well. Right, Run for Your Life is not one of those songs. Just saying. Okay, that's fine. I'd rather see you dead, little girl, but it's not like it's not John Lennon. It's Elvis Presley. It's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like,
I get what you're saying.
He's totally like he's just like,
that's
toss away.
I get it.
Doesn't mean anything to him. Not one of my introspective I've done you wrong songs. That's just whatever. But like, I Am the Walrus to me is like, he literally said, like, I was thinking about Lewis Carroll. That's taking a lot of LSD.
I'm saying, but that's the thing is from his childhood. Lewis Carroll was his favorite book. He read all the books,
fair enough.
And even like to me, it's like he said there was like a childhood rhyme. Or even high school, like that had Yellow Matter Custard was like one of the rhymes.
Right. There's he and Pete Shotton, I think in one of the books I read, like he gives you the rhyme. He like spells it out in a book or something like that. And
exactly, and that's what I meant. That's what those three songs to me, like they're just talking like all of the barber is like the Beatles didn't even know each other.
Paul, of course,
and they all go to the same barber. Like that's before, like it's a city, but it's like so small, and certainly in their level of income, they're kind of hitting or going where they were going. The two of them. So they also the three of them, the other three besides Ringo, they get to next level of schooling. Like they're not sent off to vocational school. Like they all do well enough in school to get that to go to the little the proper school.
George did not. George, by his own admission, was just like I didn't do anything in school. Like I just didn't do it. He doesn't even come out and say, "Oh, I was smarter than them" or this or that. John does a lot of that posturing where he's just like, "Oh, I always felt like I was smarter than the headmasters and stuff like that." Whatever. But like George doesn't say anything
Chris,
like that at all.
I'm just saying completely factual. To get into school, they had to pass. All three of them passed tests that a lot of people didn't pass. I wasn't saying about what they thought. I'm just saying they successfully passed tests that other kids did not. That's all I was trying to say.
You're saying, did George pass that test? You're saying he passed the test to get into the institute?
Yes, like the O level or something like that. Because I thought, how did Paul and George end up in the same school together then? Right. That's what I mean. That's I think in several cases, like John, it was very expected, and Paul and George, it was a little surprising.
Like John went to Quarterdeck, and George and Paul went to the Institute. And there's a distinction there. And I think
I agree.
More maybe a class distinction than anything. And it also adds to John Lennon's, pseudo-intellectual stature.
Yeah. And then the art school. Yeah. Like you don't hear.
And then, of course, right, he goes to the art
hear,
school.
and I guess I'm not that far enough in, but I remember hearing, you don't hear about like Paul or George's art background at all. You know what I mean? Like they don't do, you know what I mean? Like John is going to be an artist. He goes to art school, like that classic British rock star thing. Right, yeah. But
No, those guys were not. George went to Blackers, right? He's an electrical apprentice. Yeah. And then they get his brother, the Beatles are playing. They get the first gig to go, because this is prior to Hamburg, don't forget. They get the Johnny Gentle tour. And George says to his brother, we got this tour in Scotland, and it's not for long and this and that, but clearly I'd have to not be at work. And his brother's just oh, you go for it, because you can always just get another job, that kind of thing. Even though but it was quote for working class folks, George's job was a good job. It wasn't he didn't have a crap job. He had a good job.
I'm sure getting a good.
Oh, you're going to be an electrician's apprentice. That's a solid career, son.
Right.
You don't throw that away. And he did it.
And so did his parents try to talk him out of it, or?
No, I think his mother was always very I don't know a lot about what his father had to say about it and stuff like that, quite honestly. On the other hand, I know his mother was always very...
Georgie, you got to follow your dreams. Georgie.
Definitely. You got to follow your dreams. You got it. And she was more understanding about that kind of stuff. It's not like that I can count, I know a story about her, I just think that it's always just been generally said about her that she was supportive of George's musical aspirations. So, he's 17 years old when he goes to Hamburg.
Yeah.
They come back from Scotland. They're looking for more work. And that's when, Bruno Koschman had, asked, Denny and the seniors, left the Jacaranda Club, and they were over in Hamburg, and they write back to Alan Williams and say, hey, listen, we found this thing going on in Hamburg. The Beatles come back from that, and shortly thereafter, they are packing off to Hamburg. And you got to figure his parents are backing him up at least. Sure. But, there's also promises of him making... whatever, 30 pounds a week, which was probably more than George's dad is making.
Playing clubs,
So they're all just oh shit, and it's that.
And these clubs are packed with American GIs. Is that what's going on here? Well, why is rock and roll? Why is that such a hotbed?
Not Americans. It's not an American crowd in Hamburg. I'm sure there are American servicemen there because it's a seaport. So I'm sure you have international people there. But a lot of them are just Germans and working class Germans that work. And then, the oddballs, it's not it was a artsy crowd. The fact that Stewart and the Exodus crowd, as they end up being called, I think we've talked about this. Where Klaus was it Klaus or Jurgen? I think it's Klaus, right? He and Astrid, who becomes Stuart Sutcliffe, the Beatles' original bass player's girlfriend, break up. They had been boyfriend girlfriend. They break up, and he goes to the Reeperbahn and hears this rock and roll band outside of a club, and goes in there and just was fascinated by them, and then returns the following night with a couple of friends in tow, and then it turns into a thing. It's not art house.
It's the Bromley contingent with the Sex Pistols. There's there's always that little first group of diehard fans that kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and they start getting the word out, or get their friends there. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. It started. I mean, in some cases, they start bands. This is kind of a weird thing. It is kind of interesting. The Hamburg scene is never homegrown. You know what I mean? There's not other German bands that are these great rock and roll bands from Germany that were inspired by it.
You were saying before that other bands from Liverpool are going over there, and because they know this is a place to get gigs.
So what's the band, John? I said Derry and the Seniors, but I think it actually might be It's that Trinidadian steel band that is playing at the Jacaranda Club. So